Tonight, a Washington D.C. judge ruling the CDC overstepped when the agency imposed a nationwide eviction ban under the Trump administration. That policy was extended in the Biden administration and it was set to expire at the end of June. It's one of many rulings at various court levels during this pandemic. In Michigan, Governor Whitmer imposed an eviction ban as the virus began coursing through the state.
We want to get this right. We don't want landlords to lose buildings. We don't want individuals to be evicted.
Protests followed as extensions were debated with evictions pending. Whitmer's order disappeared, however, after a state Supreme Court ruling nixed much of her executive orders. In its place, EDP, the Eviction Diversion Program, $50 million in rental aid.
And it ran out at the end of 2020. It was operated county-driven. Some counties did better than others.
Now, federal funding from COVID relief is starting to kick in the state after a back and forth between the governor and Michigan's legislature on how to spend the cash. Meanwhile, the pandemic is not over, and some argue a burden has been unfairly shouldered by landlords.
No one expects you to go into a restaurant and then make the owner give you a meal for free. Okay? You don't get to go to the grocery store, pick out what you want, and say, I'm good. Why should rental housing be any different?
While rental advocates say,
I think the way that people treat renters is as though renters are consumers and that housing is a commodified good. So going to a restaurant, getting a nice meal out with a friend is definitely a luxury for most people. Housing is not a luxury.
Following the federal ruling, it's unclear what happens next. Appeals by the Biden administration are already in the works.
Most likely they're going to be granted a stay, which means that the ruling cannot be used throughout the country until such time as they have figured out what they're going to do on appeal.
What may end up happening in the next few days is a bit of a, obviously valid panic and watching out for things like misinformation that gets passed on to tenants that could result in people self-evicting. And self-evicting means you may be pressured by your landlord to move out. You may feel like you are supposed to move out if you owe quite a bit of back rent. But unless you're actually taken to court and have due process take place in court, you don't have to leave your rental unit.
And the White House has said they will make some sort of announcement on all this. Meanwhile, both landlords and renters alike are caught in this push and pull of all these contradictory court decisions. For 7 Action News, I'm Brian Abel.